She held it delicately, the weight of it mirroring the heaviness of the secrets pressing down on them. Of course, this isn't just a gala, it's an act of masquerade. Caden's lips curved slightly, a sardonic smile. You know, by 28, you're supposed to be living your best life. Yet here we are. Maybe the best life is a fantasy, she replied, her heartbeat quickening as their eyes locked. The tension hovered between them, a palpable cord of connection and unspoken truth. Or maybe it's a game, Caden said, the shadow of his past creeping into his tone. He pushed off the bar and stepped closer, his presence inescapable. What are you hiding, Nova? She recoiled slightly, his intensity momentarily causing her to falter. What about you? Are you just a man with dark secrets lurking beneath that polished exterior? They stood inches apart, the world around them fading into a blur. Caden searched her gaze, the vulnerability in her eyes, igniting something deep inside him. You have no idea how dark it gets, he murmured, his voice thick with unexpressed weight. Try me. Her challenge was tinged with both defiance and a hint of desperation. She needed to understand him, to peel away those layers that felt impenetrable. He exhaled sharply, the air thick with tension. I wasn't always this, together. And now, she pressed, feeling the warmth of her desire mingle with apprehension, a dangerous cocktail that threatened to drown them both. Now I keep secrets to protect those I care about, Caden admitted, his voice softened as he caught his breath. Like a son? The words slipped out before she could stop them, jagged like glass. His expression flickered, and an icy tension filled the space between them. You shouldn't have to bear my past, Nova. But it's all connected. I can't ignore the truth, and I won't. Not anymore. Her resolve cracked, and vulnerability crept in as she took a step back, her voice nearly a whisper. I'm scared, Caden. Scared of what we're becoming. The air turned thick with unexpressed emotions, a swirl of yearning and fear reverberating through them both. He closed the gap, his breath fanning across her cheek. Fear can bind us, or it can set us free. A moment stretched infinitely between them, the world beyond their closeness fading into nothingness. Just as Caden leaned forward, intent on crossing the final barrier, a sudden commotion erupted from the entrance. Both turned as several guests gasped, eyes wide with panic. Get down, someone shouted, the warmth of the moment shattering as chaos unleashed. Instinct kicked in. Caden grabbed her wrist, pulling her into the shadow of a nearby column, just as a loud crash echoed through the grand hall, sending a wave of anxiety rippling through the guests. People screamed, and the sound of breaking glass added to the fracas. Stay close, he commanded, his voice a low growl meant only for her ears. The look in his eyes, fierce, protective, ignited her heart, kindling the fervent desire beneath her fear. What's happening? Nova shivered, adrenaline coursing through her veins. Let them get whatever they want. We find a way out now. As their bodies pressed close for shelter, Caden's hand enveloped hers, their fingers intertwining. In that breathless moment, with danger thrumming in the air, something crucial clicked into place. They were not merely individuals defined by their past. They were allies, intertwined fates woven together by their secrets. And in the grip of fear, they found love layered and complicated, yet undeniably real. Together through chaos. That's a promise, Caden murmured, and Nova knew she would hold him to it. Scene 33, a test of affection. The grand ballroom pulsed with an undercurrent of muted laughter and clinking crystal, a far cry from the chaos outside. Caden leaned against an ornate column, his sharp gaze fixed on Nova. Draped in her sister's elegant gown, she floated through the crowd like a swan amid a flock of pigeons, unaware of the hurricane brewing beneath the surface of their seemingly perfect charade. Caden, she called, her voice slicing through the ambient chatter. He turned, meeting the spark of her cobalt eyes that glimmered under the chandelier's warm light. What's wrong? Are you really ready for this? His words were clipped, laden with a weight that seemed to stretch the distance between them. Pretending to be someone you're not, it could unravel everything. The light dimmed in her eyes momentarily, but she shook it off, adjusting her posture as if the gown itself could lend her the strength she sought. You think I'm not committed? I have to protect both of us, Caden. This is the safest play right now. He stepped closer, the bustling crowd fading into a blur. The scent of her perfumed essence enveloped him, mingling with the rich aroma of aged whiskey from the nearby bar. And what about your own identity? This game is perilous. He studied her, noting the way her fingers toyed with the delicate fabric at her waist. Nova inhaled sharply, and for a moment, vulnerability washed over her features. What if I'm tired of the expectations? She admitted softly, the sound almost lost in the evening's din. Tired of always playing the perfect twin. Sometimes I just want to be me. Caden's guard faltered, and the walls surrounding his heart cracked slightly, revealing a glimpse of his own guarded fears. Then who is me? He challenged gently, brushing a finger against her arm, feeling the warmth radiate from her skin. Can you truly separate yourself from the shadow of your sister? For a heartbeat, the air thickened as their eyes locked. A crowd around them swirled, yet it felt like only they existed in that moment, a spotlight directed solely at their turbulent souls. She faltered, and an unexpected tremor laced her voice. I'm learning. Maybe by pretending to be her, I can finally understand who I am. Caden's heart twisted at her honesty, recognizing the fragility lying beneath her brave facade. He took another step, edging closer until their bodies drew almost flush. And what about us? What if this deception drives a wedge between us? His voice, laced with concern, barely broke the intimate silence they shared. A soft chuckle escaped her lips. It was genuine, a spark of defiance igniting in her chest. You're worried I might fall in love with someone else? Who could resist such charm? Caden teased, though his eyes darkened with hidden worry. The shadows that clung to them spoke louder than the laughter echoing in the ballroom. He moved closer, his brow furrowing as he whispered, You would tell me, wouldn't you? Oh, you know I have a penchant for secrets. Nova grinned playfully, breaking the tension just a shade. But her smile faded, replaced by an intensity that stole his breath. But I would never hide anything important from you. Not this. Not us. Promising words from a master deceiver, Caden said lightly, but a trace of something deeper lingered in his voice. He reached up, tucking a stray lock of hair behind her ear, an action tinged with longing. How do I know this is real? Feel it, she replied, stepping even closer. The swirl of silk brushed against his shirt. Guilt weighed on the edges of their connection, yet uncertainty had never felt this intoxicating. Nova hesitated just long enough for doubt to creep in, but she held up her chin defiantly. You want to know how I feel? Here, let me show you. Time stilled as Nova reached up, capturing the back of Caden's neck with her hand, pulling him down just a fraction. The world around them vanished, replaced by the thrum of heartbeats that echoed louder than the orchestra. He dared to lean in, instinctively tilting his head as their lips hovered mere inches apart. Then do it, he murmured, the depth of their connection surging in the silence that lingered. Just promise me that no matter what happens, we'll fight through it together, she whispered, her breath a warm promise against his skin. Together, he pledged, the spark igniting a shared resolve. Before another word could surface, she leaned in, bridging the gap. Their lips met, a soft yet consuming tide of warmth that swept away the uncertainties. In that fleeting collision, they found solace, their true selves dancing within the chaos. This was a beginning, perhaps even an end, but most importantly, it was theirs. Scene 34, Whispers of the Past. A gentle breeze drifted through the open window of Caden Onyx's elegantly furnished study, stirring the scent of aged mahogany and fresh jasmine. Inside, the late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the room, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air. Caden stood by the desk, fingers tracing the spine of a worn leather book, a treasured childhood story he once shared with his secret son during stolen moments. The memories felt like a sharp, unexpected edge, causing his chest to tighten. He glanced out the window, eyes tracing the manicured grounds of his family estate, a place rich with laughter, but laced with unspoken sorrows. Today the splendor felt fragile, as if the vibrant flowers outside might wilt under the weight of his disclosures. Hey, Nova Leclerc's voice pulled him from his reverie, warm yet cautious, as she arrived at his side, holding a delicate cup of chamomile tea. She offered it to him, her brown eyes wide with unvoiced concern. You look like you've seen a ghost. Caden accepted the cup, savoring the steam rising between them, a hesitant bridge. Just thinking. About what? She pressed gently, her fingers brushing against his forearm. He took a sip, savoring the gentle warmth but feeling the tension in the small space. Stories I used to read to someone special. He hesitated, debating how much to reveal. Things I can't shake. Nova paused, sensing the shift in atmosphere. Is it your past, or is it something in the present? Both, I suppose. Caden's voice was rough, but his expression softened as he faced her fully. You make me want to share it all. With a faint smile, Nova stepped closer, the air between them seeming to shimmer with unspoken possibility. Then share, Caden. I can't help you carry it if you don't let me in. He inhaled deeply, the tea's soothing aroma battling the knot in his stomach. I fathered a child years ago, and the words hung there, thick like the weight of generations. Nova's eyes widened slightly, a flash of surprise and understanding passing through. It was not outrage he feared, but acceptance of a truth too heavy for casual chit-chat. Is that why? She began, then faltered. The silence stretched as she crossed her arms, the heat between them morphing into tension. Why you've kept me at a distance? The secrets? Partly, Caden admitted, voice barely above a whisper. I wanted to protect you from my chaos, from all of it. What is he like? Her question was straightforward, yet layered with an emotional undertow that sent a shiver down his spine. Like me, Caden said, a hint of sorrow creeping into his voice. But with the innocence I've lost. Does he know about you? About me? Closing his eyes, Caden hung his head, frustration bubbling just beneath the surface. He doesn't know. He can't know. It puts him in danger. Are you ever going to tell him? Nova's voice quivered between hope and fear, threading through the urgency in her tone. I don't know. The honesty in his admission hung like a dark cloud over them. An awkward silence followed, filled only by the chirping of crickets beginning to serenade the twilight. Then, almost as if gliding on unspoken resolve, Nova stepped back toward the doors of the study, her expression holding a tumult of emotions. Caden, you need to confront this, whatever storm is brewing behind your eyes. What do you mean? He pushed forward, prompting but wary of what could be unleashed. With a sigh, she leaned against the doorframe, the framed pictures of laughter and light behind them casting a stark contrast to their current heaviness. Don't run anymore. Don't push me away. I want to be here for all of it, not just the beautiful parts. Caden's heart thudded, a storm of feeling clashing with the barriers he'd built. What if I'm not strong enough to keep you safe? You just might surprise yourself, she encouraged, stepping closer again, the warm influence of her presence wrapping around him like a comforting blanket. As if pulled by an invisible thread, their eyes locked, a current of electricity igniting between them. He marveled at her, a whirlwind of determination, the kind of beauty that transcended physicality and spoke directly to his soul. Caden, she murmured, her voice barely a whisper as she reached up, fingers brushing against his jaw. Nova? He breathed, their worlds colliding in a fragile moment, the past whispering secrets that only they could hear. The tension strummed between them, electric and alive, as the drumming of their hearts crescendoed amidst the silence. In that instance, Caden knew confronting the past might be the key to finding a path forward. Together. Scene 35. In the eye of the storm. The sounds of shuffling feet and hushed murmurs filled the dimly lit corner of the gala, where Caden Onyx and Nova LeClaire stood, their breaths mingling in the close air. Candles flickered, casting shadows that danced on the elegant marbled walls, a kaleidoscope of tension and unease lurking beneath the surface of the night. What do you mean? We don't have time for this. Caden's voice, deep and resonant, wove through the atmosphere like a siren call, coaxing Nova to listen. He leaned closer, his gaze fixed on her, an urgent plea in his eyes, the twinkling chandelier above them highlighting the complexity of his features. If we don't act now, everything we've fought for is. Are you really putting our lives on the line for the truth? Nova shot back, her pulse quickening. She crossed her arms in defiance, but beneath that tough exterior, vulnerability seeped through. The gala faded around them like a stage set, where the actors played their roles, unaware of the impending storm. You think I want to dive deeper into this mess? My sister's already tangled in it. And what about you? What more am I supposed to uncover? His voice softened, tinged with an unexpected confession, like vulnerability clawing its way to the surface. Because you deserve to know who you really are, not just the identity you wear, Nova. You're not your sister. She recoiled slightly, frustration flaring. I never wanted to be anyone but myself. Can't you see that's just as much a part of this nightmare? Caden exhaled slowly, his defenses unraveling in the tense moment. And I can't afford to lose you too, he admitted, a raw honesty spilling from him like ink on parchment. I've hidden so much already, for better or worse, and I don't want your life to spiral because of the choices I've made. At that, the air grew heavy with unsaid words, the uncharted territory of their emotions stretching before them like a wide ocean under a stormy sky. Her heart raced in rhythm with the thunder of his confession. Nova took a step closer, her hesitation wavering as she studied the tempest in Caden's gaze. What if everything shatters? What if we fall apart? There's so much more you're not telling me. Then let's face it together, Caden replied, his voice like a warm embrace against the chill of uncertainty. Suddenly, he reached for her hand, his touch igniting an electric spark that pulsed through her. Whatever comes next, we'll do this side by side. Before she could answer, the ground beneath them shook with a deep rumble, like the world echoing their tumultuous hearts, a reminder of the danger crouching just beyond the gala's delicate facade. Outside, sirens wailed in increasing intensity, slicing through their moment of intimacy. Caden's grip tightened, as if anchoring them both against the storm swirling just outside the grand entrance. Murd. This can't be happening now, Nova muttered, panic bubbling in her chest like a rising tide, his eyes flared with determination. We can't let them drive us apart. Not now. Not when we can embrace whatever truth lies ahead. Caden leaned in, capturing her lips with his in a heartbeat, the kiss igniting the trembling space between them, a fierce warmth radiating through their hesitant souls. The world around them blurred, the chaos transformed into a soft murmur overshadowed by the intensity of their connection. With each shared breath, their fears poured into one singular moment of resolve, a passionate promise sealed in the depths of that shared silence. As they pulled away, breathless, the brimming tension lingered like a haunting refrain. You mean more to me than my secrets, Caden whispered, merging tenderness with urgency. We're in this until the end, whatever it takes. Nova's heartbeat thudded loudly in her ears, the finality of his words resonating with her soul, igniting a fire she hadn't realized was dulled beneath years of fear. Then lead the way, Caden. Let's face this storm together. With one last glance shared amid the chaos, they braced for what lay ahead, a union forged in both passion and peril, ready to uncover the secrets that had entangled them both. Scene 36, bonded by shadows. Caden stood on the balcony of his apartment, looking out over the bustling metropolis, the streetlights flickering to life as dusk settled in. The air was thick with the scent of rain-soaked concrete, a far cry from the formal attire and polished elegance of the gala they had just left behind. He could still hear the echoes of laughter and clinking glasses swirling in his mind, but as the first droplets of rain began to fall, they brought with them a weight of urgency that settled on his shoulders. Inside, Nova paced, her vibrant energy bouncing off the walls as she adjusted her dress, slipping the hem just a touch to accentuate her legs. The dim lighting flickered against her skin, a golden hue that reminded him of sunlit afternoons spent together as children. He swallowed hard, trying to shake the memories that stirred within him, knowing the past had shadows lurking in the corners of their lives. Nova, Caden called softly, breaking the silence. She paused, glancing over her shoulder, a mix of determination and concern illuminating her features. Yeah? She asked, her voice steady despite the flurry of emotions beneath the surface. He moved closer to her, the energy between them crackling like the thunder rolling in from a distance, echoing the tempest within his heart. He gestured toward the rain, his voice laced with seriousness. It's time we talk about this syndicate. It's not just a shadow we can ignore anymore. His gaze bore into hers, searching for a sign, a flicker of agreement, perhaps. Her brow furrowed slightly, that look he recognized all too well. What are you planning, Caden? She asked, stepping closer, her curiosity piquing. I need you on this with me. I'm going to take them down, he declared, his voice a low rumble that sent a shiver down her spine. But I can't do it alone, not with the stakes this high. Nova crossed her arms defensively, her chin tilting up slightly as the rain began to fall heavier, pattering against the window like a steady heartbeat. What do you mean? Take them down? This isn't just about you and me anymore. It's dangerous, Caden. Each word escaped her lips with fervor, but she could see the resolve deep in his eyes, and it made her heart race. I know, Nova, but we have to act before it's too late. They're coming for us, and I won't let them take what's ours, he replied, his voice a storm of emotion, and she watched the struggle within him, the protector, the man layered with secrets and a desire for redemption. How do you propose we do this? Her voice lowered, the gravity of the moment landing squarely on her shoulders. We can't just waltz into their territory and expect to walk out unscathed. There are lives at risk, ours included. Exactly, he said, closing the gap between them, the air thickening with unspoken tension. And that's why you need to trust me. We'll work together. You assume your sister's identity when we infiltrate them further. As she met his fierce gaze, she felt the weight of the world crashing down, yet simultaneously, the pull of something deeper was undeniable. You want me to play a role? There's so much at stake. Trust me, he whispered, the intensity of his words wrapping around her like an embrace. And in that moment, something shifted. The fear faded, replaced by a warmth swelling in her chest, igniting a desire that had simmered beneath the surface. The world outside seemed to fade, the rain echoing their shared heartbeat, drawing them closer together in the intimacy of the storm. Caden's hand reached out, brushing a stray hair behind her ear, his fingers lingering against her skin, sending ripples of warmth scattered across her body. With you at my side, I can face anything. Her breath hitched as the space closed around them, an electric spark igniting with the slightest of touches. The rain outside drummed louder, fierce like passion emerging after a long drought. They were held together by shadows, each secret illuminating their path forward, his kiss warm and confident when it came, pulling her under like the tide. As their lips touched, the warmth enveloped them, and a deep sigh escaped her. It was a kiss charged with promise and longing, a tender invasion that melted away their fears. Just as they surrendered to the moment, the world remained outside, the storm growing wilder, an echo of the turbulence of their hearts. Caden pulled back slightly, breathless, eyes meeting hers with an unspoken understanding. We'll figure this out together. And whatever it takes, we'll protect each other, she replied, her heart swelling with conviction. The rain poured harder now, but they were bonded by shadows, united against the tempest to come. Scene 37. Fateful Alliances. The air was thick with the scent of exotic spices and the faint echo of laughter reverberating from the grand ballroom of the Sterling estate. Crystal chandeliers twinkled like distant stars, casting ethereal light onto a scene of delicate elegance. Couples danced, their movements a graceful blur, but all Caden could see were the shadows creeping at the corners, an ominous reminder of the secrets lurking beneath the surface of this so-called celebration. Nova, radiant in a deep emerald gown that clung to her figure, moved close to him, her eyes reflecting both excitement and unease. She could sense the tension radiating from him, an undercurrent of anxiety that he skillfully masked with his charming smile. Why do they always have to serve the good wine at moments like this? Nova whispered, raising her glass and faking a melodramatic eye roll. Her playful quip momentarily shattered the weight of the night. Caden chuckled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Maybe they think it'll loosen our lips, or our morals. He glanced around, searching for an escape route amid the swirling skirts and polished shoes. We can't stay here much longer. Their conversation hung in the air, unbalanced by the tension they felt. Just as they were about to pull each other back into their thoughts, a low chuckle broke through the ambience, a familiar, unwelcome sound that twisted Caden's stomach. From the dimly lit corners of the ballroom emerged Terence Whitfield, his smile sharp and confident. Caden Onyx, he drawled, as if testing the texture of Caden's name on his tongue. And Nova Leclerc, how delightful to see you again. He made a production of leaning closer, his eyes glinting mischievously. Didn't expect you both at such an opulent gathering. Nova stepped slightly back, instinctively seeking Caden's strength. What brings you here, Terence? The guest list is decidedly exclusive, she replied, her tone flinty. Ah, but I'm a man of connections, Terence replied, his eyes sweeping over the crowd. And tonight I bring information, or shall I say a proposal. Caden's jaw tightened. We have no interest in your games, Terence. Games? Terence laughed, but it held no warmth. I'm offering an alliance. Your family and mine are already intertwined through much more than just this gala. Why not let the past fade for our mutual benefit? Is that your idea of charm? Nova's voice sharpened, glaring at him with defiance. You think we'd trust you after all the fallout? There's a time for pride, and frankly, that time is past, sweetheart. Terence stepped closer, clearly enjoying the uneasiness radiating from both of them. Caden, you have secrets that need handling, and so do I. If we pool resources, we can emerge unscathed. Caden scoffed. And what's the catch? This sounds a little too easy, Terence. A glint of something unreadable passed over Terence's face. No catches, just a simple arrangement. Save your family, and I'll save mine. This is the part where we say no thanks, Nova retorted, crossing her arms protectively. You must understand, there's a storm on the horizon. Your identities, your very lives, they're at stake. The underbelly of this gala is far darker than you know. Terence's tone deepened, a hint of urgency emerging. Caden's heart raced. The gravity of Terence's words set off alarm bells in his mind. What do you say about my son, Terence? He shot back, voice low and steely. What's he got to do with any of this? The laughter around them felt muted, as if the ballroom momentarily held its breath. Terence's smirk faltered, revealing a crack in his composed facade. Your son, he began, but faltered, the gravity of the truth weighing in the air. You shouldn't keep that a secret, Caden. Secrets have a way of coming to light, and when they do, they could crush everything you hold dear. Silence hung thick, an impending storm waiting to erupt, and Caden's panic surged, anger igniting his resolve. What do you want from me? Terence shrugged nonchalantly, but his eyes glimmered with ulterior motives. Just a chance to save ourselves. Do we have a deal, or should I gather my whispers elsewhere? Caden and Nova exchanged a glance, unsaid words passing between them, a moment of unexpected vulnerability amidst looming danger. She took a step closer to him, the warmth of their connection reigniting. Why do we trust you? She murmured, her voice barely above a breath. Because, Caden replied, gripping her hand tightly, we have no other choice. As the music swelled around them, the weight of the decision loomed large, drawing them deeper into an inescapable web of loyalty, danger, and desire. Scene 38, paths intertwined. The October sun hung low in the sky, its golden rays stretching through the trees like fingers reaching for the earth, illuminating the vibrant hues of the fall foliage. Nova LeClaire stood at the edge of her family's sprawling estate, a paintbrush of mixed emotions dancing across her heart. She was set to paint a picture with this life, beautiful yet fraught with hidden shadows. As she absent-mindedly stirred the pot of butternut squash soup simmering on the stove, the scent of cinnamon and nutmeg filled the kitchen, evoking memories of her childhood. Memories that scratched and clawed at her, intertwining with the raw excitement of her new identity. She glanced sideways, noting the intricate autumn decorations she and her mother had put up together just days ago. They were still smiling then, unaware of the impending storm. A sudden knock shattered her reverie, sending ripples of anxiety through her. Caden Onyx stood in the entrance, a warm smile breaking forth like sunlight after a rain. His dark, tousled hair caught the light, framing his face as he leaned against the door frame, his posture relaxed yet commanding. Every inch of him was magnetic, drawing her closer. Smells amazing in here, he said, voice rich and inviting. Just trying to hold on to some semblance of normalcy, Nova replied, her smile faltering slightly as the words slipped past her lips. How could she call this moment normal? She was standing in her sister's shoes, hiding from the very life she once thought was straightforward. Caden stepped inside, the door creaking softly behind him. The warmth of his presence enveloped the room, momentarily pushing any lingering shadows aside. Normal is overrated, he said, shifting his weight to one side, his gaze intense and searching yet filled with an inviting warmth. I wish I could believe that, she murmured, stirring the soup as warmth spread through her at his presence, but tension coiled in her stomach like a taut wire. Could she truly carve a new path without exposing her past? Stories she'd rather keep buried were flaring up, endangering everything they were building. Caden stepped closer, his expression softening, perceptive to the turbulence in her heart. "So, what are we really celebrating here?" His question hung in the air, electric and compelling. The sound of laughter outside pulled Nova's attention momentarily. The family had thought it was just a cozy gathering, but beneath the surface, chaos loomed. The laughter was light-hearted, but it felt like mockery. She turned back, her expression faltering. I don't want to ruin anything, Caden. Not again." His brow furrowed as he moved even closer, the space between them charged, fraught with unspoken confessions. "You're not going to ruin anything." The sincerity in his voice sent pulses through her, igniting the previously dormant passion within. "We'll figure it out together." A gust of wind picked up, rattling the windows as if echoing her own inner doubts. Nova inhaled deeply, trying to ground herself, her heart racing as she caught the essence of Caden's cologne, a crisp combination of cedar and something earthy. It wrapped around her like a comfort blanket, yet the storm inside her rumbled louder. "Nova," Caden continued, reaching out, his fingers brushing against her wrist, igniting sparks along her skin. "What do you really want?" Her answer was lost in the charging atmosphere as the air thickened with desire. "I want to be honest, but there's so much you're not seeing." Her voice trailed off as Caden's gaze turned deeply searching, illuminating shadows she had long tried to dismiss. He stepped even closer, their bodies almost brushing, his warmth washing over her as if erasing the autumn chill. "I see you, Nova. I see all of you." As if the world had narrowed down to the two of them, the kitchen around them faded away. His gaze dipped down to her lips, hesitation creeping in, causing her heart to stutter. "I—" Nova's resolve melted as he leaned in, tension dissipating. What once felt insurmountable began to blur in the heat of the moment. She felt suspended in time, the weight of her family's expectations lightening, and all that remained was Caden, his need matching hers. Their lips met softly, an exploration filled with the tenderness of shared secrets and the heat of unspoken desires. The kiss ignited a passion that spread like wildfire, wrapping her tightly as she melted into him, free falling into a place where worries faded into the background. But even as they shared that moment, a haunting thought flickered in her mind. Was this truly the beginning, or merely a cover for the chaos that awaited her? As they pulled apart, breathless, Caden searched her eyes for an answer, and she knew they would both have to navigate the tumultuous road ahead. "Together," he whispered, an unvoiced pact hanging in the air, sealing the promise of forging ahead. The storm clouds threatened in the distance, but for now, Nova saw a path, intertwined with Caden's, a chance to face the tempest together. Scene 39. Dangerous Affection. As the storm rolled in, dark clouds swallowed the sky whole, threatening to drench the opulent courtyard of the gala. The air crackled with electricity, each gust of wind mingling the scents of polished mahogany and damp soil, creating a heady mix that hung thickly around Caden Onyx and Nova Leclerc. They stood under the flickering glow of an overhead chandelier, the sound of laughter and clinking glasses from inside the event, a distant echo to their tense standoff. Caden, his dark eyes glimmering with intensity, broke the silence. "What did you think would happen when you pretended to be your sister? Did you honestly believe you could sidestep all of this?" He gestured widely, frustration bubbling just below the surface. Nova, standing her ground despite the storm threatening to unravel them both, tilted her chin up defiantly. "I thought I could protect her. Protect both of us," she said, her voice steady but tinged with an urgency to be understood. "I never intended for any of this to happen." The wind whipped about them, tussling her hair and dragging in the scent of rain, a reminder of the impending chaos outside. Caden took a step closer, his presence warm, almost magnetic against the backdrop of growing shadows. "And now here we are, ensnared in a web of lies," he replied, his tone low but fierce, as if he were battling against some invisible tide that threatened to pull them under. For a moment, the space between them pulsed with electricity, their shared history heavy and potent, overlaying the tension like a storm cloud ready to burst. "You're right," Nova asserted, her heart racing with the weight of her words. "But we can control what happens next." Caden's expression softened, vulnerability flickering in his gaze. "Control?" he echoed, a slight laugh betraying his disbelief. "What control do we truly have?" The gala is a front for a criminal syndicate, and we're caught in the middle. The confidence in his voice diminished slightly as the air around them crackled with unspoken secrets, a dance of their fears. A bead of rain fell, splashing onto the stone floor, marking the beginning of the storm. With each drop, Nova felt the weight of the moment, the gravity of trust hanging precariously between them. "Maybe we can turn the tide in our favor," she said, stepping closer, her voice a whisper. "But only if we're willing to embrace the danger together." Caden's breath caught as she moved nearer, a wild intensity in her gaze that made his pulse quicken. "Embrace the danger?" he echoed, trying to grasp the surreal shift from the gravity of their conversation to the palpable tension simmering beneath their words. The storm raged, sending gusts of wind tossing leaves into the air, but all Caden could focus on was the warmth radiating between them. "Why not?" Nova countered, a spark igniting in her eyes. "We've faced worse. I've faced worse, knowing you were there." The truth hung heavy, wrapping around them as if the storm outside had intensified to match their emotional tempest. Caden took a moment, his thoughts racing, but he narrowed his focus on her, on the way the rain started to pelt against the ground, adding rhythm to their heartbeats. "You make it sound so simple," he said, his voice barely above the din of the downpour, forming the perfect storm. "That's because it is simple. It's just—" Her courage faltered, and she reached out, her fingers brushing against his sleeve, igniting a spark that traveled through them both. "It's about what we're willing to fight for. Together." Silence enveloped them, punctuated only by the drumming rain and the whisper of the wind. The world outside faded, the noise of the gala dissolving into oblivion as Caden leaned forward, every heartbeat filled with the silent promise of connection. The space between them dwindled, eyes locked in a silent agreement, laced with anticipation. Then, without another word, he closed the gap. His lips found hers, and everything shifted. It was not a kiss filled with chaos or fierceness, but a quiet storm of longing and understanding, a mingling of their hopes, fears, and the heavy weight of their secrets. As they melted into each other, the rain began to fall harder, but it was no longer pressing. It became an invigorating backdrop to their silent declaration of trust. The kiss deepened, a soft dance of emotions as they let the world slip away, surrendering to the storm both inside and out. When they finally pulled apart, breathless and flushed, Caden murmured, "Whatever we're up against, we'll face it together, I promise." In that moment, the storm outside no longer felt threatening. It felt like a new beginning. Scene 40. Undercover operations. The dimly lit bar shimmered with the soft glow of antique lamps, casting a warm hue over a gathering of elegantly dressed patrons lost in their own worlds. Polished wood gleamed beneath the subtle clinks of crystal glasses and murmured laughter, a facade of normalcy masking the weight of secrets woven among the guests. Caden Onyx sipped his whiskey, the smooth liquid spiced with an edge of heat, grounding him as he surveyed the room. His senses were heightened, the heady scent of cologne mingling with aged leather, the distant sounds of jazz that wrapped around him like a lover's embrace, every detail sharp and vivid. Nova Leclaire entered beside him, her emerald dress cascading elegantly to the floor, a perfect illusion of confidence that barely concealed her internal storm. With her twin's identity draped over her like an invisible cloak, she felt both exhilarated and terrified. Stealing glances at him, she took in the way his dark eyes scanned the crowd, his brow furrowing slightly at any unfamiliar face. A gentle flicker of doubt ignited within her. "Do you think we can really pull this off?" she whispered, her voice barely a breath against the din of chatter. Caden turned, his gaze softening as he studied her. "It's now or never, Nova. Just remember, we're doing this for the truth." There was an earnestness to his words, a depth that stirred beneath his usual bravado. The tension stretched between them, each pulse throbbing with unsaid feelings as Caden's brow knitted tighter. Nova bit back a retort, her vulnerability surfacing. "Right, for the truth, but it feels more like we're tangled in a web of lies instead of running toward clarity." The sting of jealousy colored her words, and it wasn't lost on Caden. He frowned, shifting uneasily. "Not all lies are bad," he shot back, sharper than intended. A few patrons looked their way, and Caden lowered his voice. "I can't let you back out now. This isn't about us. It's—" "Not about us? That's rich." Nova crossed her arms, the fire in her tone drawing stares from nearby tables. You're keeping something from me too, Caden. You think I don't see it? Her cheeks flushed with indignation, a dance of anger and hurt. Caden stepped closer, their bodies a mere whisper apart. Tension crackled like electricity. What do you know? He challenged quietly, leaning in, his eyes narrowing with a dangerous edge. Enough, she shot back, her voice trembling with a blend of frustration and undeniable yearning. I've spent my whole life feeling second best, first to my sister, and now to this. This mission you've dragged me into. What if I fail? What if I mess this up because I'm pretending to be her, all the while you're hiding your own truths? The vulnerability of her admission cracked through his guarded facade. For a moment, the bustle of the bar faded, leaving only the two of them suspended in that raw honesty. Caden felt the bittersweet sting of her words piercing the protective shield he had built around himself. You're not second best to anyone, he murmured, his voice almost a plea as he reached out and tucked a rebellious strand of her hair behind her ear. You're stronger than you think, Nova. With those words, an unexpected warmth surged between them, an electric charge that refused to be ignored. Nova gazed up at him, searching for answers that lay just beyond their reach, the tension shifting from confrontation to something far more intimate. Just then, a ruckus erupted across the room, shattering the trepidation that had wrapped around them. A trio of men, laughter rife with bravado, stumbled into their space, shoving one another playfully. Caden's eyes darted to the disturbance, instincts flaring. He whispered, "Stay close." Nova nodded, heart racing, eyeing the men as they blustered past. What if they've recognized me? They wouldn't be the first to mistake you for someone else, he said with a half smile, one that almost cracked the tension that held them both captive. And they won't be the last. The teasing light in his voice broke through the heavy air, and she couldn't help but laugh softly. Is that supposed to help? Nova shot back, feeling the moment shift even further as the underlying tension melted into shared laughter. Caden stepped back, eyes glinting with mischief. We're on a mission, and you and I, we make a pretty stunning pair. Let's gather our intel, and then we can figure out where we stand. As they moved further into the crowd, pulse quickening with potential danger, Nova glanced back at him, determination igniting within. Together, right? Always, Caden replied, warmth flooding his heart, drawing her closer as they both stepped into the unknown. Scene 41. Secrets in the dark. The chandelier glimmered, flickering softly in the dim light of the hidden basement room, casting shadows that danced against the bare walls. Nova leaned against a weathered table, her fingers tracing the edges of a dossier filled with papers. Caden, she breathed, her voice tinged with urgency. How could they possibly think we don't know? Caden paced the small space like a caged lion, his brow furrowed in concentration. He paused to glance at the sheaf of documents nestled against Nova's hip. It's not just that, he replied with steely resolve. This isn't a game anymore. We're standing on a powder keg. I need to know where your sister is, and soon. Don't you think I want to find her? Nova snapped, the flash of frustration igniting her dark eyes. The tension hung thick, slicing through the stale air. But we can't afford to argue like this, Caden. Look around. This place is crawling with eyes. Caden continued to pace, his broad shoulders taut. You're right. Every minute we waste puts you and your sister at risk. He threw his hands up, his voice rising in fervor. Do you not understand what we're dealing with? If they discover our investigation. Then what? Nova interrupted, her heart racing with a mixture of anger and fear. You think I can't handle it? Or maybe you think I'll just stand aside while you play the gallant hero? The vulnerability in her voice caught Caden off guard. Nova, I never said that, but if you're impersonating your sister... It's not that simple. Her smile faded, revealing a turmoil he had only glimpsed. I never wanted to be a pawn in their game. Look, we all have our scars. I want to help. I want to be a part of this. She shifted her weight, yearning for him to understand. The sudden silence swelled between them, filled with the echoes of their unresolved past. Nova broke the stillness, her voice quivering. You think I'm hiding behind a curtain, don't you? She crossed her arms defensively. You think that if I just act like her, I can escape what's in here. She gestured to her chest, the heaviness of her own burdens revealed. Caden's eyes softened as he stepped closer, defying the distance that had been building between them. "No, I see you, the real you." This time, his voice was low, earnest, "And you're stronger than this facade, but I can't lose you. Not to this syndicate, not to anything." Her features softened at his admission, and the weight of their shared concern temporarily eclipsed the tension. "I just want to forge my own path, Caden. I'm tired of being compared to her, of feeling second best." There was a glisten in her eyes, frustration, yes, but deep within, a flicker of hope ignited. Caden raised an eyebrow, leaning closer. "You could never be second best to anyone," he murmured, the warmth of his voice igniting something more profound between them. The air thickened as he reached out, his thumb brushing over her knuckles, sending shivers down her spine. "You're remarkable on your own." Nova blinked, the intensity of his gaze holding her captive. "And what about you?" She lowered her voice, a tender challenge in her tone. "You have secrets too, Caden. The weight of your past is heavy. Will it slip between us like sand?" Before he could respond, the sharp sound of footsteps echoed outside the door, jolting them both into immediate alertness. Caden pulled back, his face taut with resolve. "We need to go," he said, urgency creeping back into his tone. "Now." She nodded, adrenaline surging as the tension morphed back into action. They exchanged a glance, the heat of their previous confrontation simmering beneath the surface, unresolved yet palpable. As they moved stealthily toward the door, Caden whispered, "It's not just your sister at risk anymore, it's us." "Then we fight together," Nova declared with newfound determination, light cutting through the shadows that once engulfed her. She took a breath, grounding herself. "We uncover the truth, no more secrets in the dark." With that, they stepped into the uncertainty, hearts entwined, ready to confront whatever lay ahead. Scene 42 against all odds. The elegant ballroom sparkled with crystal chandeliers, their light refracting off the polished marble floor like stars captured in a shimmering sea. Outside, the rain pattered insistently against the tall, arched windows, echoing the turmoil brewing within. A sudden clap of thunder rumbled, reverberating through the chatter of elegantly dressed guests, igniting tension in the air. Nova Leclaire stood near the window, her fingers tracing the delicate patterns of condensation that fogged the glass, her heart racing in sync with the storm. "Caden's late," she murmured through tight lips, the words almost swallowed by the clamorous laughter surrounding her. She adjusted the cascading silk of her gown, a deep emerald that hugged her form, a stark contrast to the vibrant energy of the gala, yet somehow it made her feel invisible. A sharp voice cut through her thoughts. "Is he ever on time?" Typical Caden. It was Brielle, her sister's friend, glancing at Nova from across the room, concern pinching her brow. "What do you think he's up to?" With a forced smile, Nova replied, "Probably saving the world, as usual," but her heart wasn't in it. The truth was, Caden's secrets were weighing heavily upon them both, and the air felt thick with unspoken words. The guests around her erupted in laughter, oblivious to the raging storm outside and the brewing storm within. Suddenly, the back door creaked open, and a gust of wind swept through the room, pulling everyone's attention. Caden Onyx stood there, his silhouette framed by the doorway, golden light behind him and water dripping from his coat. He looked like a tempest personified, dark, brooding, and undeniably magnetic. "I thought you might need a rescue," he said, strolling toward Nova, his voice low and confident. He smirked, though his eyes betrayed an urgency. "What's with the gloomy looks? You all look like you're planning a heist." "Well, that's exactly what we were discussing," Nova quipped, attempting humor but only earning a glance of concern from Caden. "You're just in time for the show." "Let's make it a grand exit instead," he replied, leaning closer, the scent of rain and something earthy enveloping her. "Are you suggesting we sneak out?" she asked, her heart racing at the thought. "More like run for our lives," he whispered, barely audible over the clamor in the room. Before she could respond, a loud crash echoed from the far corner, sending a shockwave of gasps through the crowd. Guests turned, eyes wide with alarm as a group of men, clad in dark clothing, surged into the ballroom. Their demeanor was aggressive, a dangerous contrast to the elegance of the evening. Caden's jaw tightened, and without hesitation, he grabbed Nova's wrist, pulling her toward a narrow hallway that led to the back of the venue. This way, he urged, his voice firm yet laced with urgency. They darted into the shadows, the chaos of the gala fading behind them. Heart pounding, Nova glanced back and saw Brielle slipping out too, her eyes narrowed, but ushered back by the crowd. "We can't leave them," she protested, pulling her wrist free. "We have to get to safety. We can't help anyone if we're captured." Caden's grip was firm, but his tone softened as his gaze met hers, a silent promise sparkling between them. The rain beat against the walls, muffling the distant shouts and the cacophony from the ballroom. As they reached an empty storeroom, Caden shoved the door shut, breathing heavily. "Listen, Nova, we might need to hide for a moment." A flicker of adrenaline coursed through her, electrifying. They were fighting against the odds now, thrust into a world starkly away from the lives they led moments earlier. "What about? Don't think about them. Just focus on us." His eyes were intense, holding hers with a warmth that ignited something deep within her, a sense of unity against the chaos swirling outside.